Well, good morning, everyone. This is Jennifer Sanchez. You are watching the Wise Coffee Chat Show. We're super excited to be here on this amazing Monday morning. So before we introduce our special guest today, I've known this woman for a hot minute. She met me in the nonprofit world.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I know. It made me feel old. You're like, dang. Yes, it is. So, my name is Jennifer Sanchez. I'm the founder of Wise Alliance Network. We provide networking events, boot camps, retreats for men, women, and co-ed. As well as I'm a real estate investor. So I like to wholesale properties, rehab properties, rentals, all that good stuff. If you're looking to sell your property, reach out to me. I could close in 30 days or less. And I work a lot with real estate agents. So anyone, wants to partner up, let me know, reach out to me. But that's who I am. I will pass it. And I got 3 little girls. I forgot. Like I'm a beautiful mom.
Little girls.
Oh, wait. I said beautiful mom.
She's like, I'm a beautiful mom of 3 beautiful girls.
There you go. She said it for me. So I'll pass it over to my co-host this morning,
Delilah. Hello, everybody. It's Delilah. I am the owner of the Rock Exchange, founder of PG31. The Rock Exchange is a resale boutique on the south side of Chicago, and PG31 is a mentorship program. And I style women. Go ahead. Is that what you said?
No, I said Southside.
Southside. Oh my gosh. I thought she said Yeah, I also style women for special events. Also revamp wardrobes. I've done that as well. And I also am a mentor for Horizon Gems. It's also a mentorship program for teen girls. So I'm really big on I guess leaving a legacy and borrowing babies and giving them back.
That's going to be in your bio now. Borrow babies.
Borrow babies. And, that's pretty much it. And we have our special guest, Veronica Cruz.
Ooh.
Yeah, so share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Veronica Fernandez. I am the CEO and founder of Legacy Crusade Financial, where we offer various options for life insurance coverage, disability income insurance, and so forth. And of course, we just now introduced digital trust, which is pretty cool. So very excited. I'm a mom of 4 beautiful babies, ages 23, so not so much baby there. 23, almost 20. He'll be 20 on Sunday, on Mother's Day. And then I have a 5-year-old daughter and a soon-to-be 4-year-old son on Friday. So busy mom.
She is a busy mom. And right now I was like, man, I forgot, like, you got a strong voice, Veronica. I was just like, that just woke me up. But that's a good thing, right? But yeah, so me and Veronica actually have known each other. I was still a baby. I was
maybe like what, 6 years ago? 2007? No.
No, it was like
Longer.
2010 or something like that. 2011.
Gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
I've
We have
known
known each
you.
other for a long time.
I've known you for a long
Yeah.
time. I think you probably just started your insurance career.
So that would have been 2014. That was when I first got licensed. So probably around then. So yeah, it's been about
Yep.
almost 11, 12
Yep.
years. Yeah.
Yep. That's when
Yeah.
I remember you came in. We were talking about it was a nonprofit world because I ran the financial literacy program,
Mhm.
remember? And I don't remember if you spoke for the students at that time or if you did some budgeting classes for them. I don't remember exactly
I think I spoke.
you spoke. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a while, you know.
Yes.
So it's been a nice hot minute. But let's go into coffee time. So for those that are watching, don't be quiet. Say hi. Say good morning. Okay, there we go. We got the good mornings coming in. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
beautiful women.
Good morning.
So we got one person chime in. It's coffee time, you guys. So the whole fun. The reason why we do this. I love coffee. We always like to gather together in coffee shops, and I think people's businesses support the small businesses, the coffee shop businesses, right? And I think people's personalities really shine with what they drink. I really think so. So, who wants to go first and share what they're drinking?
I'm drinking a vanilla latte. And honestly, I wasn't a latte person until I met my husband.
Aw, that's cute.
I was a basic get it from McDonald's girl.
Sweet stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I like black coffee from McDonald's.
Yeah.
It sounds psychotic, right?
It is.
Just a little bit.
Shows a little bit about her.
So yeah, I like basic black coffee, cold ice. Just that's weird, I know, but just it taste it, taste it.
I imagine the people at the McDonald's drive-thru taking your order.
Here we
When
go.
they get off the mic, she thinks this is Starbucks. She's like, I want 3 ice cubes, cold.
Light
54
eyes.
degrees.
Yeah, right. No, they're probably like, esta, they're talking Spanish, cursing me out, you know. But anyways, so let me just share. We have also Brian from my investor group. Good morning, happy early
Good
Mother's
morning,
Day.
Brian.
Good morning. Thank you for jumping on with us. So, what are you drinking, Delilah?
So we're at Café El Meson off
Yes.
of 47th and Kedzie. I love this cafe. I'm drinking a Go Green. And what this is, it has spinach, pineapple, a little bit of mango. It's amazing.
Mango.
It's goodness in a cup. And then I have a cocoa latte on the way.
A cocoa latte. Nice.
I need my coffee. Totally.
Sides of the
That's why I
spectrum,
wanted
you
to
know?
make sure I was done with this first.
Like, let's get the greens in first and then get the dessert.
Then the
right?
coffee.
Yeah, then the real stuff. I
Then
have
the coffee.
I don't know the Aztec. What is this called?
Wait, what? The El Mesonero.
El Meson. That's how you know you know the menu, Delilah. El Mesonero. Okay, so I just remember it has cayenne pepper in it. So
It's good for the.
good for the
everything.
digestive. Yes. So I really loved it. We have another person here, Jack. Hello, dear beautiful ladies.
Hello, Jack.
Thank you for jumping on. Make sure you guys say hi and let us know what you're drinking or what did you drink this morning. That's always fun sharing what people drink. So we love supporting small businesses. We love drinking coffee. That's what the show is all about. And then here we go. We got Jamalette, my girl over here. Y'all so lucky. I'm working out or else I would have joined you. I love that place. Aw. Yeah, we love guests. Nayeli, she said buenos dias. Buenos dias, Nayeli.
Buenos dias.
She prego. She got a baby coming on the way.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And then we have Kari, our girl, Karina. Good morning. Good morning, Karina. Awesome. So we have some people on here. So thank you. Keep jumping on, keep engaging, keep talking. So let's bring this to our guest, right?
Yes, Veronica.
Veronica. I mean, she is definitely someone that you need to get to know. I mean, I've known you for so long.
Yeah.
I haven't blocked you.
We know how Jennifer cuts people off now.
I'm done. I'm done. You're done. No,
That's why she orders black coffee.
Right. From McDonald's.
that's
Does it while sipping.
oh yeah. Because I have a black
Right.
card.
She's like, if I can drink this, I can do anything. Don't catch her on a
What
black
just
day.
happened this morning? I don't
She's like
know.
the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
So
just kidding.
no. No, this honestly, Veronica, very professional. That's why we've stayed connected for so many years. I've seen her evolve,
Wow.
right?
See each other evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. You got married, we were pregnant around the same time when
Wow.
I
With
was
the
pregnant
baby?
with the 5-year-old. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I just know that, I got some insurance with you. So, you've taken care of
covered.
me. She takes care of me. So how did this all start? Like what even led you into, guys, you got to know her because she's wild. No, I'm just, she's not wild. She's very professional. Yes.
Yeah,
Go
for sure.
it.
So I'll start with this. So back in 2014, I was actually working for the Chicago Transit Authority. So I was in management, I was in telecommunications, working many hours a week. And at that point in time, I was like, you know what? I need a change. I need something different, something that's going to allow me to kind of break free from the corporate shackles, right? And so 2014 came around and I got licensed in the life insurance industry. One of my good friends at the time was in the industry and she introduced me to it. She said, hey, you can do this part-time. If you like it, great. You can stick it through. If you don't like it, then there's no harm, no foul. You don't invest a lot of money in it. So you just, go do that. I said, okay. So in August of 2014, I got licensed in the industry, passed my test on a Thursday. And the very next day, the CTA let me go.
Stop it.
I
didn't know that.
That is how I started in the life insurance. And I was like, okay, God, well, I guess this is the new path for me. And an interesting thing, how God answers prayers in ways where we don't expect it. We expect it to fall into place perfectly, where we find a career, I build my business in the insurance industry, and then I can fire my boss. That was my plan.
You were ready.
I was, but I wasn't ready to lose my job, which was a very cushy salary with benefits and everything, to go from making near 6 figures to making 0 because I had just gotten licensed. And this industry takes time to build. It takes grit. It takes tenacity. It takes patience and
alcohol. No, just like
just on Wednesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays,
and black coffee.
That's just for you, girl, not me. That's on you. But yeah, so that was my start in the industry. It wasn't ideal, right? It wasn't the perfect situation, but I was already tired of it. I was always stressed out. At the CTA. And, we pray for a change, but we get the change and it's not the change we were expecting. And then we get mad. Like, why is this happening? Well, I prayed for it. I asked for it. It's not the ideal situation, but it's what happened. Right. And so started in the industry, and it's life insurance. So specifically life insurance, disability income, annuities for wealth protection specifically. We also now have introduced digital trust to our platform, which is amazing. And I've been growing ever since. It didn't come easy. It came with a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of faith and prayer and wanting to quit every single darn day.
I think that's like most entrepreneurs.
Let me tell you, there's probably weeks where you feel like, is this for me? Is this for me? And so my question, I used to sell life insurance some years ago, one of my many jobs in my past. But because what I hear is loyalty. You hated CTA, but you stuck it out, right? 13 years is a long time. And here we are, almost 11 years now with life insurance. What's some advice for people who don't know what life insurance is, and how can they get started with life insurance, or the importance of life insurance?
So life insurance in general is, I guess what's made me stick it out this long in the industry is the fact that we are essentially the only industry that is handing out a check to a family and not asking for a check for debts, medical bills, mortgage payments. We're the ones that give those checks out. And it provides such financial security for a family. And not just that, but it's also, I like to call it checks from heaven. Like once you've gone and passed, and we all know we're going to die. We're all going to die at one point, right? We're all going to pass away. Only God knows the day and the time, the hour that that's going to happen. And if you already know that at some point in time, God's going to call you home, why not prepare yourself and your family for that financially, right? Why not provide them with that security that they can actually have that peace of mind to grieve without being rushed? We all know, especially with employers, you're working, whether you lost a son, a daughter, a sibling, a parent, a grandparent, you get like 3 to 4 days bereavement pay. And then you're having to use your PTO time, you're having to use vacation time, you're having to use all of that just to be able to come to grips with your new normal, right? Your new normal life. And that's hard. So what life insurance buys you is that time to grieve without the rush of having to go back to work, right? Especially like for children, for example. A lot of parents will be like, well, that's so morbid. I don't want to capitalize on my child passing away. It has nothing to do with that. It's setting a foundation for them. For one, it's an asset, right? If you get a permanent life insurance plan for your child, they're growing an asset throughout time. And it's also, if God forbid he were to take them sooner than expected, then you have that time to grieve. And so that's primarily what I do it for. It's that peace of mind. I'm so tired of seeing people that I have spoken with about life insurance, and it irks me to the core when we've had conversations or they've said, hey, I got to get with you, and then I see a GoFundMe. Like, I would much rather be that person to say, hey, Veronica took care of me. Veronica made sure that I was going to be set, or that my family member was going to be set. And now, because of our conversation 2, 3, 4 years ago that led to me getting a policy, I don't have to worry about asking my siblings, my family, doing food plates, doing t-shirt, sales, whatever it is, to be able to cover funeral expenses.
Can I make a comment on that? Yeah. So, for example, like if you were to get like a whole life policy, there's different types of policy.
Absolutely.
There's term, which literally means that it's for a term, it's for a period of time. Then there's a whole life policy that's for your whole life, in other words, right? The nice thing about when you get a whole life policy on a child is that rate stays the same for their entire life. So let's say you get a policy, for example, for like $20. When your child is like, let's say 2 or 3, it stays at that $20 for their entire life. And then it's gaining money. A lot of people use life insurance policies as a form of investment as well.
Asset. Like,
right?
An asset over time.
And a lot of people aren't aware of that as well. But now let's say, somebody says, I can't afford it. Hypothetically, because you probably hear that all the time. Do you work with different people's incomes? Let's say they say, all I can afford is $30 a month, which is like 3 Starbucks drinks, right?
Literally.
Literally.
You go to
right?
Starbucks. If you go to Starbucks 3 to 4 times a week,
Right.
you can afford this dang policy.
Now, I know you work with several different insurance agencies, correct? So do you work with people's income?
Yeah. So there's what's called an insurable analysis that we do with our clients. Every single client goes through it. And so we identify overall what their insurable need is. So especially for like the parents, for adults, we look at their insurable need. And then we also look at overall what they can afford. We want to make sure that this is not going to feel like another bill to them. But we also ask them what's important to you. What is motivating you right now? If they reach out to me, because I don't reach out to the people, they reach out to me once they're ready to make a decision. And if they've reached out to me, it's because something has triggered them to look into life insurance. So the number one question I ask is, what is motivating you right now today to make sure that you get life insurance coverage today? What is that? And a lot of times, believe it or not, it's, my uncle just passed away 2 weeks ago, and we had to do XYZ, and we all had to come out of pocket, and I just don't want my family to have to do that. So what I do is I kind of put that in front of them at every moment I can.
Absolutely.
During our conversation, it's, hey, you mentioned that you don't want your family to struggle. if I get something for you that's affordable for you, that's going to provide you with what you're looking for and that financial security for your family, this is something that we want to make sure stays on the books, like you stay
Yeah.
covered, because I never want to have a conversation where your child, your husband, your cousin said, hey, I know you got life insurance through XYZ person.
Yeah.
Let me contact them because they just passed away and I have to tell them, no, you didn't keep your policy. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I have had to do that in the past.
Well, that was recently. I actually was just like, I still got a policy, right?
Yeah.
And I reached out to her. I was just like, hold up. I was like, I need to make sure there's still a policy on this person, just to make sure that, like, if something were to happen, we're good, right?
Yes.
But it's one of those things that you get and you just stop thinking about it. Like, don't sit there. Like, I forgot, but I wanted to make sure that it was still getting paid. God forbid something were to happen, right? Let me share some comments real quick and then we'll take that, because I want people to be like, oh, she's not ignoring me. I've had people tell me that. Ernie said, good morning,
Hi,
ladies.
Ernie.
Ernie is an amazing friend, a husband of Liza, amazing viewer. So thank you so much for watching.
And he makes the
Jamila.
best steaks.
It makes the best steaks. Carne arrachera, yes, fire. And drinks, but
I don't drink, so
well,
his steaks
but
are amazing.
I do drink, but I'm in a Christian setting, so a little bit drink. And then we have Maria. She said, drinking a cappuccino, watching you all from Costa Rica. Woo!
Nice.
Very nice. We have another friend, Jose. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Jose. How are you? Thank you for
Hi.
watching. Then we have Jack. I'm following you from Burkina, Africa. Very interesting thing you're doing. Delilah may know there. I like drink mango juice. So
He makes, yes, I was on a mission trip a few. Hi, hey brother Jack, and the best mango drinks in Africa, fresh mango, amazing,
Beautiful.
refreshing.
I love it. I love it. Then we have Gemma that said Vero was a blessing in our family. We got life insurance for our kids right on time, and I was so blessed and thankful. Get life insurance, y'all.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, that's awesome. And she has a story. She has a story.
Wow.
James, hello, James,
Hi,
for watching.
James.
Yes, this is live, James. And then we have a couple other people
Hi.
watching. Hi, everyone watching. Make sure you say
Hello.
hi. We have Maria. Then, as she said, is price determined by age and your health
That's a
condition?
great question.
I can actually answer that really quickly. So, yes, Maria Elena, it is based on age and health. That's why it's better to get it
The
sooner than
earlier,
later.
while
That's
you're
why
still healthy.
we advocate for children all day long, because you
Yes.
secure their insurability at their current age and health. Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
let's say we were talking about this off air. I'm sorry. We were talking about this off air, but let's say you have a spouse who's like, let's say, severely ill. There are some policies you were mentioning. If you can share that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some policies called guaranteed issue or guaranteed acceptance, and that does not ask any medical questions. They don't look into any background information. It's usually going to be capped at a certain amount of coverage, right? Usually low coverage, anywhere from 20 to maybe 50,000 maximum for guaranteed protection. Just really depends on the carrier. And then, but you don't have to answer any medical questions. So if someone, God forbid, has active, cancer, or they recently had a heart attack or something like that, they can still get covered. There's just going to be a waiting period.
Yeah.
So let me explain that briefly, to not to get too technical. But what the waiting period is the carrier will provide what's called a return of premium in the first 2 to 3 years, again depending on the life insurance company. And what will happen is if the client passes away in the first 2 to 3 years of that waiting period, the beneficiary receives the premiums that were paid into the policy plus an interest, like 10 to 30%, depending on the company. After the waiting period, then the full benefit is paid out to the beneficiary. So there's no true loss in it, but obviously it's a risk to the insurance company, so they have to also protect themselves.
That's smart. That's smart. I love that. And I guess people might think, like, man, it's going to be too expensive, or maybe I can't get it, right? But it's totally a lifesaver, like you've said, right? Like, these things, sometimes you need them. And What if you like, I would hate to be in a situation where like I would leave a financial burden to my kids,
Mhm.
leave them vulnerable, right? Leave people behind, like leave all this debt behind also, right? Like it just sounds like a really sad situation. Like you're already going to grieve and go through a loss, and it's going to be hard in itself, and then to add financial stress to that as well, I mean, it makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Families have lost their homes, because they had dual income, or even if the main or sole breadwinner passes away, it's what do you do, right?
One thing, you know, it's also important to let people know where those policies are. So have a central location, because let's say you have these 3 or 4 policies and you don't let anyone know that you have these policies, then they just have these policies out there. So make sure you let them know it's under a drawer. It's the third drawer from the top. This is where all our paperwork is. Would you advise that?
I would actually. So that's a very good point. So what we typically advise our clients is, number one, yes, but your beneficiary should also know who I am. And that's why we don't advise minors being beneficiaries, because number one, insurance companies don't pay directly to minors. It gets appointed to like a legal guardian through the courts, so it could end up in the wrong hands, right? Number two, it's you want to make sure that your beneficiary is someone that can call me right away, and that can handle the claim.
Okay.
So that's a really big deal. That's it's and then definitely know where the policy is. But if you ever come across something like that where someone suddenly passes away, there's a way to research if they had a life insurance policy, but it takes probably about 3 months. So by that time, everything is kind of said and done. The other way to find out if someone had a life insurance policy is looking through their bank statements, because they may have still been paying the premium. If it's like a term policy or if it's a newer policy, they might have still been paying premium on it. And so that's a way to also find out.
Yeah, that's good. Let me share these comments here, right? So, Jackie said hi. And then we have Splat Forms, Real Strong Independent Women Hours. Very nice, very nice. We have Brenda, who is Yamilet's sister. She said, "Hello, this is Yamilet's sister." We have Edgar Rivera, who's a childhood friend of mine. Hi. We also have Karina. She said, "I have policies and no one knows about them." Laughing emoji. I've been meaning to let the beneficiary know.
Let the beneficiary know. Let the beneficiary know, girl.
Yeah, yeah. But let's go into the entrepreneurial journey, right? Like this is all like important information, but we definitely want them to reach out to you to learn more, right?
for sure.
Directly. As far as you said something earlier that caught my attention. You said every day, right? You're like, why do I do this? All right.
Yes.
And Delilah has those days, and I've had those days. I think I have that day every day. Um, what pushes you to keep going? Because right, if you know that every day you're like, why, but you still do it. What's pushing you?
A couple things. Number one, it's the freedom and flexibility that I have to be able to take my daughter to school without being in a rush, pick her up from school. She gets out of school on Wednesdays early, and I can go there without having to ask anybody for permission to do that. In fact, one of my good friends posted about that today on Facebook. Um, it's the ability to make exponential income without being capped by a company or a boss. It's the ability to travel when I want. And if I have to see a client, like it's all done virtual. So it's, hey, I'm here at the beach, but I'm going to quickly close this client. I have the ability to do that. And it's also leading by example. Like there's nothing wrong with having a job. There's nothing wrong with going. It's like children in college, right? It's okay if you don't go to college, but figure out what your path is going to be and test things out. And I love it. I love being able to just work. Yeah, just the freedom itself. I did corporate since I was 14 years old. I've been working since I was 14. And it was, it was hard corporate and it was hard entrepreneurship. So choose your hard.
That is so true. choose your heart.
Choose your heart.
Choose your heart.
I still vote for entrepreneurship.
Yes, choose your heart.
Just because and I guess it is corporate, so like corporate, yes, right, you have that, like, at least a consistent check coming in, where money's coming in, you take money and you disperse it.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is more like, what bills you got to pay, and then you figure out where to hunt and get that money to pay for that. Right.
And then some, you have some good days, some bad days.
There's roller
And
coasters.
there's and that's where perseverance comes in, right? You wake up every morning and push through whatever you're feeling when you don't want to wake up sometimes, and you just push through that. And I think like for me, I was in corporate America for a long time. And I got to a point where I was like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? And then I wasn't working for 6 months, and I was just working my business. And then I started working for an organization where I'm mentoring full time, which I know for a fact that's part of my purpose. I've done it for 8 years and then some now, 9 now. And almost 10. This is crazy. I'm like, hold on, I'm reflecting. I'm like, wow, almost 10 years now. And I love it, even though it's a 9 to 5, I love what I do because it's leaving a legacy for the next generation, even if it's not my biological children. It's planting seeds.
Absolutely.
And I call them borrowed babies. I borrow these babies and I give them back to their parents, but it's planting a seed for something they may have not had at home.
That sounds like a Lifetime movie.
It does.
Borrowed baby.
It does.
Borrowing babies. No, that's, and I love what you're saying, like leaving a legacy, like that is what you're doing. That is what most entrepreneurs are doing.
Absolutely.
Right? Why you work so hard? Why are you trying to make a certain amount of income? Why are you trying to impact people's lives? Right? And like Delilah, she's impacting women and young girls, right, with the styling and the clothing and the just helping young ladies become women. And then you're helping families, have a peace of mind when protecting themselves, right? And I guess being, like you said it earlier, right? She posted something like, walking around in these streets with no life insurance is ghetto.
Yeah.
So why is this ghetto? Tell us.
You know how like well, for one, we live in like the city of Chicago-ish area.
She's like,
okay?
hold up, we're gonna
we no, you know what, it's you know how it's like a slogan now, I guess you want to call it, where it's like, this, if you do this, that's ghetto, or this and that. That's why I used it, because it's like a trend thing now.
You
Yeah,
need to
so I was
make
like,
you
that's
need to
actually
make a
perfect.
t-shirt, actually.
You know, I so I have a t-shirt that says "Go fund yourself."
I like that. I
It
like
says
that.
"Go fund yourself." I hashtag that quite often too, and now I'm gonna start hashtagging no life insurance is ghetto.
Start doing it. No
I'm gonna
life
start doing
insurance
it.
is ghetto. I would actually wear that.
Having no life insurance is ghetto. With her black coffee and ice. With her black coffee.
Cutting people off.
Yeah, we're never gonna let you live that down.
Never.
I was being vulnerable, and you.
Just like it was my safe space.
That was off. What was it? Was it on camera? Or was it off camera?
It was on camera.
It was on
so
camera.
this,
Okay, well,
this is
no, this is on
out
camera.
there. The black coffee will follow me. That's interesting. But no, I think right. Especially, so let's bring it back to the ghetto. Let's bring it back to the the city of Chicago. No.
Look, I love my city. Just so you know, I absolutely love my city.
Well, she grew up in the city.
Mhm.
You grew up in the city. I grew up in the city. But you know what? Southside people are different.
They're built different. Just
Y'all Southsiders be surprising the heck out of me sometimes. I'd be like, what? I'm a North Sider.
me too. Sorry. North Side Logan Square over here.
I mean,
a little bit of Humboldt Park.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, I worked in Humboldt Park. I'm from Albany Park, but Southsiders, y'all be on something else. I don't know. Y'all
They're
built
just like
different.
on another level.
A whole different
Just,
language.
yeah.
It's just it's different. It's like, why do y'all like park so close? Like like I'm like so right now I'm I'm in the south side a lot more, right? And I just be like, I'm driving and then like the parking, like y'all be parking in places y'all shouldn't be parking because on the north side y'all can't do this, but you guys can here. Like you create parking spots that don't exist, and I'm like, oh, north side. And then on Sunday, like everybody's a vendor, right? I was going down 43rd Street. I was like, there's like 20 taco guys down the street, right? So we don't see these things on the north side like that, right? Because I'm sure there's more undocumented families out here, right? So the police are probably a little bit more lenient out here. On the north side, they don't play that. You better have a permit out there. You know.
You do see it sporadically, especially like in the heavily populated Hispanic areas, like the Belmont Cragen
Yeah,
area,
maybe,
or areas
yeah.
like that. But it's not like you won't see that in Logan Square.
No, absolutely not in Logan Square or Wicker Park or Lincoln Park, right? Even I think
You
even
can't take up no sidewalk space.
no, even Albany Park. Albany Park has gotten very gentrified. Albany Park used to be super multicultural back in the day. Why?
I don't even want to talk about bike lanes. That's like that's a new segment. That's a whole show.
You want a laughing joke? No, you want to hear something? You want a story about driving? So
She's about to get herself in trouble, y'all. What did you do illegally?
No. This was legal.
Okay.
So when I used to live in Montclair, I remember I worked at the nonprofit, right, on 39th and Damon. I took it upon myself to ride my bike from the north side to the south side, right? Of Chicago.
What part of this house?
That's Brighton Park, McKinley Park,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So where your stores at?
Yeah.
So think about where
Yes,
north side
yes.
by the Hip Mall, all the way over there, early in the
Wow.
morning, right?
Yeah.
Said, okay, there's bike lanes. I should be fine. I got my little helmet on, right? Sometimes I get into my health things, and I get real obsessive. And then when I got to the south side, there were no more bike lanes.
She's riding on grass.
I was like, this is ghetto. I'm gonna get hit by a car. I'm gonna get hit by a truck.
You see what I mean, y'all?
See what I mean? No bike lanes.
Right.
Ghetto.
Look at this.
That was ghetto. I was gonna die that day. I was like, so then when
She needed her life insurance.
I needed that life insurance policy ASAP. And then
Wow.
when I was done with work, I still had my bike. And I was like, I gotta go back home now. And I was like, I ain't doing
Butt
this.
was probably sore from
CTA saved my butt. I was like,
you put your bike on.
put it on the racks. Had no clue how to do it, but like, we're doing this. So yeah, that's a fun story for you guys.
Wow.
Southside's ghetto. Just like
We're not ghetto, y'all.
I'm
Excuse
just
my
like,
friend here.
I'm just
Pardon
like,
my friend.
I know, be like,
Because
you
we are
north
in a small
siders.
business
I'm just
on
playing.
the south side.
No, I'm just playing. I love. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I love Southsiders. Y'all awesome. Trust me. I come out here all the time. I buy your houses. So don't worry.
You know what? Just to sidebar this, we were talking. I think we should bring up the topic: the security versus.
Oh Lord, here we go.
This
Let's
is
do
a
this.
Cocina conversation. We're gonna have like
We have
legit-
a mini segment to the big
a
segment.
mini segment. But you've been married.
Yes.
How long were you with your husband?
So my previous husband, I was with him for, we got married in 2004.
Oh, God, he just said I'm gonna get jumped by Southsiders. I'll be on a bike.
Ain't nobody gonna catch us.
Ain't nobody catching me on a bike.
So I think we were married for about 12 years, got divorced, and then now my husband, we've been married since October 2023.
And how long were you and your husband together? Your second husband?
We're together total now for it'll be 8 years in August.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain the difference between security and a man who has money? What the difference would be to you?
Well, security, it comes in different forms. There's emotional security. There's obviously the financial security aspect of it. Yeah, but someone who has money doesn't necessarily have to provide security.
Exactly.
That's so true.
they don't. They could have the money, but everything else is missing, and it's an empty relationship at that point. So what, your bills get paid, you get to travel, all of that, but internally, there's always going to be something missing.
That's
And I think
ghetto.
that's also that is ghetto. But I think it's true for a lot of things in life in general. People talk about job security. People talk about other aspects of being secure, but every it comes down to what's within. And you can have, I mean, and I can say this too with my ex-husband. We were financially secure, but that wasn't everything, and there was always something missing. So ladies, even men, don't fall for all of that, right? There's more to it.
Yeah, because just because you are like when I was married as well, there was financial security. Doesn't mean there was emotional security or spiritual security, right? And there's plenty of individuals out there that will use finances to abuse or manipulate or control situations. So I've always been a big advocate of women getting your own education, making sure you have your own money at the end of the day. Because yeah, let's say your significant other, men or women, make 100, 150, 200K, you financially well, right? Poverty women are more vulnerable to poverty as single moms, right? So but if you can make sure you have an education, if you can make sure you have, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm still a believer in getting some sort of education or something, because God forbid something doesn't go right, you can fall back on
That
something.
is the truth.
As a
That is
woman,
the
as
truth.
a woman, and people are like, you as an entrepreneur, you're not a true entrepreneur, because
You have an
you
education
got an
for it.
education, you got to be like, well, I've heard
Crazy.
it, like what's the guy, the Facebook guy, Mark Zuckerberg, right? He doesn't have a degree, like, right?
Well, good for him.
Good for him,
The
but
1%,
right?
The 1 or 2%, right?
And there's a lot of individuals that become very successful entrepreneurs without an education.
Right.
But for a woman,
Yeah.
I tell my daughter, just get something under your belt, right? Like, it's cool, be a housewife, cool. You want to be lovey-dovey, cool. At the end of the day, make sure you always got a backup plan just in case.
Really quick, but and to that point of women kind of falling to the wayside when it comes to suddenly becoming a single parent, right? I see this a lot, even in my industry, where when I sit with clients and they're a married couple, and I ask them, well, who's the financial decision maker? And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, my husband handles everything. And I think that's a huge mistake, because if you don't know, you may know what's coming in, if that, as a housewife, right? As a stay-at-home mom, I call them domestic engineers, right? Because they handle everything, right? But if you don't know what's coming in and or what's going out, you're putting yourself in a huge predicament, because at some point in time that man can leave you,
So vulnerable.
and what are you going to do? You have no access to the books, you have no access to anything. And I do believe that every woman should be able to do something for herself independent of her husband.
Agree.
So I was never married and I don't have children. But the situation that happened, the situation that happened for me, like my mom died when I was 19 and my dad when I was 22. And I had to put myself through college. I had to put myself through college because I knew that very thing, that if I didn't have my degree, there was no way I would be able to support myself, unless I was working 2 or 3 jobs. So that's the reason why I got a business degree. I wanted to be a fashion designer.
And you can still do
No,
it.
no, no, I know, but at the time,
Oh,
like
got
at
you.
the time, and I said to myself, I don't want to be a starving artist, and that's why I decided to pursue my degree. And sure enough, I get my degree, then I land a corporate America job. And I did that for several years. But had I not had that degree, I would have had that backup. But the reason why I proposed this question is because this morning, as I was getting ready, I was thinking about a conversation that I had with a friend. And they mentioned how women, all they want is money. And I'm like, well, no, not really. What women often look for is security. And a part of that is money, but not like, you don't have to be rolling it in. No, just provide a sense of peace. Just like a man wants peace,
A
So do
woman loves
women.
peace.
So do we. Provide a place of peace, safety. For me, is a man who loves God
Yes.
first. Put God first, and everything else will fall into place. But that can't be your only thing. You have to be responsible with who you are, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But to provide that security in that sense, not necessarily they don't have to be rolling in the dough, but if they are, okay. If you're not, okay.
Roll in the dough. I got a
She wants 12 doors.
10 house minimum to marry me, bro.
She's done with that.
I'm done. I'm 10 house minimum.
That's her.
How many
Don't confuse
rents?
us,
How
too.
much
Don't
rental
confuse
income
us,
you
too.
got? What's the cash flow look like?
She comes with experience, though.
Yeah.
Bro, you gotta be like, I was gonna say something so bad. It was gonna sound
She's turning red, y'all.
The coffee has kicked in.
you gotta be hitting a big, have a big hammer to deal with me, right? Like, not that type
She's
of
not
hammer.
joking, y'all.
I've rehab property.
She wants a demolition hammer.
I'm so bad. Forgive me, Jesus. But at the end of the day, also another thing that I adding to security is that that marriage paper. I'm really, and forgive me, my male friends, but appalled by some men who feel like they don't need to marry the woman that they're with,
Yeah.
and I hear them out. Like, I got that counseling coaching background, so I
Right.
get it. I listen. I'm like, all right, I see why you might not like it, but honestly, as a woman, that provides safety for the woman and security for the woman. Now, if the woman's cool with it and she got her own, she could hold herself down, yes. But when you're operating without that, it leaves the woman in a very vulnerable situation.
Yes.
And at some point, I think a woman needs to put her standards, like, nah, I ain't gonna put up with this. Like, you gonna marry me or not? Because
Right.
again, he could change his mind, but I'm done. Peace out.
And vice versa.
Yeah,
She
there
could too.
she
These women are.
well, yeah, they're special both sides for sure. But
Mhm.
I know that there's a lot more that, especially
come.
now in this new generation and this younger generation, very anti-marriage,
Yeah.
right? But then that just means there's like, so you want me to take care of the house, have kids for you, be at home, and I'm not married to you? That's ghetto.
Now, to that point, a lot of it could have to do their mindset of being anti-marriage could be what their example is.
Yes,
Who is their example?
for sure.
Is it their parent household, right? Where maybe they were raised by a single mom and they saw the struggle after dad left or something happened, right? Or maybe they see a lot of arguing and fighting
Yeah,
in the home and it's
for
just
sure.
and they see that and they're like, if this is what marriage is,
I
I
don't
don't want it.
For
Like
sure.
this is not what I'm going to sign up for, and it could also be, their associations
That's
too.
true.
Their
Everybody's
associations is part of their makeup as they grow.
Yeah, that's true. You're right? If there's no good, healthy, which there really isn't, what's the divorce rate? 70% or something like that,
crazy.
right? And Christian couples are just as vulnerable as married couple, as non-Christian
Like there's
couples.
more temptation in
Yeah,
Christian couples.
Lord.
Crazy.
But at the end of the day, it's like I'm like, no, you are not gonna, like, if my daughter came to me and I made the mistake of shacking up, right, before actually getting married, and thankfully I did end up getting married, right? But what if it didn't go that route, right? And so, like, even looking at my daughters, like, I'm gonna, like, you ain't moving in with anybody
Right.
unless there is an actual, and then, like, I'm not gonna let you either. I'm gonna drag your ass out that house. Like, that's just how, because I know the repercussions or
And the side
consequences.
effects of that.
Right, like, and thank God, like, it worked out for me and it worked out for you, right? But, like, what if it didn't work out for some other young lady, and
Can
then
yeah.
go
yeah.
for it.
Can I make a point to that too? A lot of people think that marriage, and I'm going to be speaking from a Christian perspective because that's my belief system. So this is my point of view. Um, also, it's not just a piece of paper when you get married, in my opinion. It's a covering spiritually. Like, can my husband cover me spiritually? Can he pray for me? Can he, and I think, because now I'm 42, I can't believe it. But now I'm 42, and as my 42-year-old eyes they're not the same eyes as my 20-year-old eyes. And now I see things from a different perspective. Like, wow, if I had this mindset when I was in my 20s, things would have been a lot different. You know, I was just a little emotional 20 something year old.
Yeah.
And I look at things from a different perspective. Like, man, God, I want you to protect us spiritually,
Yeah.
you know, and have that covering with marriage. Then, you know, with that, when that happens.
Actually, I want to speak to that too, because interestingly, when me and my husband first met, we had both prayed for each other
Aw.
in that sense, where meaning that at the time I was going through my divorce, I was dealing with some financial stuff, being an entrepreneur, right? Dealing with all of the emotions that come with that. And I actually have, and I still have the piece of paper of where I wrote down, and he actually had done the same thing, which is so interesting, that this is what we wanted. And one of them was, I wanted a man of God
Aw.
who could lead my household, because in my previous marriage it was not at all that. It was the complete opposite. We were not at all, it wasn't a Christian based home, and he wasn't a God-fearing man. And I met my husband, and that's exactly who God gave me. So and he absolutely leads by example. Our household is led, it is, our marriage is our foundation. We are centered in Christ.
That's amazing. Yeah, I guess kudos to you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You know, I
Thank
love
you.
that. I love
There's
that.
hope for everybody.
But even so, you got the spiritual covering in marriage, but you also got the financial covering when you're married, right?
Mhm.
So it's still a protection for women
Absolutely.
all the time. And it was funny because I was watching what we were watching Gladiator yesterday, and yeah, the part two. We didn't finish it. I didn't have enough time to dedicate to it. But I watched a little bit, and my daughter said, what would happen to women if they didn't get married back then? Right? Right? She she asked that question, and I thought to myself, God, like, imagine being married at that time. And she was just thinking like a face card, right? She was like, what if you're not pretty? Like, how are you gonna, she's all thinking like back in the day, how did you get selected? Like, you weren't, because now she's thinking like people also look at the looks and the body and the
no,
dressing.
yes.
So she's like, what if your face is not pretty? Like, how do you get married? Like, how do you get selected? uh, and uh and I was like, well, the consequences were women, if they weren't, if I know, especially I know in the European times, if a woman didn't get married, she would have to hope that one of her sisters got married, because it wanted to take in, the husband usually took in the entire family. If not, the woman would end up at brothels.
Wow.
Right? So think about that.
I think it depends on the region.
Well, no, we're talking about
Like-
we're talking about think about generations. I'm talking about like AD, like
Yeah,
200, right?
No, I'm saying, but that does depend on the region.
Well,
Because like Middle Eastern women back in the day, so even if you like towards the latter part of your 20s, you're considered old. Like, I'm really old for marriage right now.
no, yeah.
Like, they're looking at me like there's no hope.
but no, I'm sure it's different regions.
Right.
But look up historically, like in
Greek
European
or
and stuff like that,
European.
you would end up in. There was even a movie not too long ago where like basically you just leave yourself to very vulnerable if there's no man to like protect or cover. And I would think even in the Middle East, if there's no protection,
You just pretty much, you stay in the house and you take care of the things of the house. I could see you running a brothel if you were in that time, Jennifer. She's like, you know what? I'm just gonna run this thing. Right. That's why God created you for this century at this time, because He knew you would cause some ruckus back then.
oh yeah, I'm gonna run this.
Hashtag ghetto. The ghetto brothel. I
don't think I want to run a brothel,
No.
Delilah.
I'm like, back in the day, if you're like, oh, I'm not married.
Oh, we gonna run this.
Oh my God.
How many of you guys? This is so unholy. Forgive me, Jesus.
I'm like, wow.
Now you see why we get along so well. Yeah. We vibe. All right. So let's do this. Let's promote back to life insurance, guys.
Get your life insurance. It's important.
Right.
Right. Protect your family.
Yes.
So If no brothels, if someone wants to reach out to you, Veronica, I hope this does not go viral. I swear to Bob. This would be the horrible thing.
This is gonna go viral. You just said it, and
Now it's gonna go viral. Don't be like Jennifer runs brothels.
She doesn't. She doesn't.
That one clip.
that one clip and run it.
Oh my goodness.
Help me, Jesus. I have pastors that watch this too, though.
It's just a little clean fun.
Clean fun.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
It was back in the day.
Hypothetically.
In
1,000 years ago.
Yeah. If you were born at that time.
Which none of us were.
Which none of us were. And,
We're in the clear.
and if God saved me.
Yeah.
Right on time.
He was like, no.
We're just telling the story.
That's
Story time.
the story time.
All right, Veronica, if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so I have my website, legacycrusade.com. There's actually a great wealth builder ebook that you can actually download, which is amazing. It has tips from obviously securing your family with life insurance, the importance of, the different strategies you can use for getting out of debt, savings, building up that emergency fund, and then of course, establishing that wealth protection for those who have like old retirement accounts, or maybe they're nearing retirement. How do they get their income to last them the rest of their life? And then of course, the digital trusts.
Yeah, that is great.
I love the digital trust because, if you have properties and assets, you definitely need to put it in something to protect it, because if not, it's going to go to probate.
Probate. Anything that's not in a trust goes into probate. Even a will is still a probatable document, so to speak, without, So it's important to have a trust if you have, say, minor children, assets like retirement accounts, regular bank accounts, if you have property, businesses, if you want to make sure that you have certain people in your family that don't inherit something, you can disinherit. And the beautiful thing about digital trust, and I'll close with this, is that it's real-time changes. So unlike a book trust requires time. You're being invoiced, constantly from your attorneys to make certain changes to your trust. And if something happens in between, you're waiting for the revised update of your book trust, that can take some time. It can take weeks, if not months, to make those changes. And so a digital trust allows you to make those changes near real time, so you have the most updated documents quickly.
I love it. So actually, for you guys, we're going to be doing a boot camp. You guys know I've done boot camps, business boot camps for entrepreneurs. And I was trying to bring her to the last one, but something happened. She couldn't make it. So we want to bring her to the summer boot camp that I'll be having. Oh, that was kind of loud. The summer boot camp we'll be having, and I want her to focus in on trusts, and we'll see how we work. But I think it's really important, especially for my investor friends, people that have a lot of assets, entrepreneurs. You have multiple businesses. You need to get that in a trust. So I've been talking about this for a minute.
Yeah, you have.
So I'm like, I need to get her into the boot camp so she could really like give us like a Foundation 101 on this. So keep an eye out for that. And then the ebook. So you guys know there's an ebook. They could get ebook.
Yeah. So on the website itself, if you scroll down just slightly, it says get access now. If you click that button, enter your information, you'll quickly receive that ebook.
Beautiful. So go ahead, take advantage of that. And then Delilah, what's going on at the Rock Exchange, girlfriend?
Come visit us. We're open from Tuesday to Saturday. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're open from 11 to 6. Thursday, Friday, we're open 11 to 7. And Saturday, 11 to 5. Come check us out. We have a lot of new product in and on the floor. August 30th, y'all, our PG-31 fashion show. We're going to be partnering up with Castillos de Jesus. We're doing a fundraising fashion show to take our girls to Guatemala a second year. So it's a missions trip. So August 30th, set that day aside. And it's going to be, it's a beautiful venue. So excited about that. And many of you know, but so just PG-31, Proverbs Girls 31, our girls are going to just do some great things. They're in an art class right now. They're doing phenomenal. Thank you, Gerald Griffin and friends. And so August 30th, and just come check us out at the Rock Exchange.
Are you still recruiting young ladies, or when are you going to start recruiting young ladies?
So for this cohort, we're not, because the girls are in an art class and that ends in July. Okay. And the fashion show's in August. So, and then our mission trip's in in December.
Okay, okay, sounds good. But definitely go check out the Rock Exchange. Delilah's
Yes.
amazing with clothing and shopping, and you don't want to think about what you wear, just want to look cute. Go to Delilah. You know,
Just 2 times.
we have someone here that wrote Yvette Velasquez. She said Veronica is amazing.
Aw, look at that.
Yeah, Yvette, thank you for jumping on and commenting. And then we have also Brenda, who's Jamalet's sister. She put Southside. No, I love the South Side. Just jump. You know, when you wake up in the morning, you hear roosters.
You on the south side.
You in the South Side. This should be. Of course, I'm from the South Side. I wake up to roosters, right? Like you should say
Of
stuff
course
like.
I'm from the
And
south
we're gonna
side.
hashtag roosters are so ghetto. Waking up to roosters is so ghetto. I'm kidding.
I got-
I'm kidding. Look,
She
I was in
is
Puerto
on this
Rico.
ghetto
I was in Puerto
trend.
Rico
Uh-oh.
for 10 days.
Oh,
and
my
you wake up
goodness.
to roosters and go super cookies.
Right.
So,
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's
Oh.
you know. I one time I woke up to a pig getting murdered in Mexico.
oh my gosh, my
I
heart.
would die.
Do you know
I
how
don't think I
true-
would ever eat pork
you-
after
We had
that.
pork chops later.
No, my grandma
These are
was
the best
like,
pork chops.
no, my grandma was like, you know, las tripas, the intestines. I remember her in the kitchen just like braiding them up, like, boo. I was like,
Making some morcilla for later.
I was
Oh,
like, is
yeah.
that the pig that y'all killed this morning? It was horrid. It was horrible. But anyway, side note. So let me see what we have right here. Someone wrote, I'm not far from El Ministerio El Meson.
Oh, yeah.
Nice,
Isn't
nice.
it beautiful? I love it.
Very nice.
Come check them out here. They're off of
Yeah.
47th and Keji. I also got me a coco latte. I was not joking. I told them I have another
She did
drink
it.
coming up.
She
The
did.
coco latte made with almond milk. It's
Oh, that sounds really
amazing.
good.
Amazing.
Man, we'll probably do some more shows here. You know,
Mhm.
we'll do some more shows here so we can invite people out to hang out with us
Yeah.
and chat. So then, of course, you guys know, keep an eye out for my events. There's always a networking event that I have.
Mhm.
There's always some mastermind that I'm putting together. We are looking to do, I was going to do a networking event this week, but I pushed it to the end of the month. I'll be doing a mental health networking event for entrepreneurs and professionals.
The importance
That
of
will
it,
be
yeah.
really good because I think sometimes we have burnout. How do we deal with that? So I'm
Right.
going to be looking at doing it on the 22nd of this month. And then boot camp, we're looking at the second week of June. So keep an eye out for those events and check out the website if you want to learn more information. And that's it, y'all.
All right. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast, even with our little side conversations that were semi inappropriate. They were awesome.
We talked about brothels, ghetto,
Ghetto.
Jesus.
So don't be ghetto and get life insurance. Do no. And yes,
and
and
get
be Jesus.
Jesus. Thank you guys so much. You guys